Hello and welcome to Fenton Live. I'm Brad Smith. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2020. Today I'm here with Tyler Rossmaessler from Fenton. Tyler, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Brad, thanks for having me. Tyler Rossmaessler. I can't really say I was born in Fenton, but I've lived here my whole life, minus a tour in Ann Arbor for school and a tour in Washington, D.C. right after that. But born and raised here, father of three little boys, or three little kids, one boy, two girls. And I guess my crowning achievement is a neighbor of yours.
It is, and I love seeing the kids run around the yard. It warms my heart to hear them out there playing. So, is everyone in your house healthy?
Thanks for asking that. We are currently healthy, yes.
And your parents and Emily's parents are healthy as well?
Everyone's good. Even my 99-year-old grandfather who lives at Lockwood is doing well right now. So.
Oh, that's great. Glad to hear that. Mm-hmm. So you work for the Flint and Genesee Chamber. Tell me a little bit about your role.
Yeah, I'm the Director of Economic Development, which is funny because everyone thinks they do economic development, but the way we define economic development at the Flint and Genesee Chamber is really about the intersection of business, talent, and place. This idea that businesses need talent, but talent or people want to live in a great place. And you can't be a great place without great business. So this intersection of business, talent, and place, my role is to support that intersection and that interconnection. Primarily, I find myself working with businesses. So.
Oh, very cool. It's a neat way to frame it, with the kind of the three legs of the tripod there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks.
I've seen on your social profile, you have shared some links to some different programs and relief programs that are available to business owners. Can you tell me about some of those programs that you're familiar with?
Yeah, so every business right now is struggling. I mean, struggling with access to capital, struggling with the unknown, struggling how to navigate. You asked if I was healthy, struggling with their own families, and it's just a lot of pressure, specifically on small business owners. There are a few programs that are available. Most notably, that's most available to everybody is the Paycheck Protection Program. It's called the PPP. This is what we heard. The Congress allocated about $350 billion for this program. It is a program that is a forgivable loan that provides 2.5 months of average payroll to the companies. And if they use it to pay payroll and a few other operating expenses, then it can be forgiven. A pretty powerful tool, forgivable loan. If you can't use it for payroll, it's at 1% for 2 years. So pretty favorable terms, but the idea is to get businesses in a position so that when we can all go back outside of our houses, that they're in a position to go back to normal as best we can.
Well, and it's great. It's providing a program to get cash into the hands of people so that they can put food on the table.
Yeah, and pay their vendors and everything. There are a few other programs, but that is the most important and most widely available tool. It doesn't actually go through the federal government. The small business owner works with their local bank, and so the bank gets the money from the SBA.
Oh, very cool. Now I know these, while programs are often available, sometimes programs are cumbersome to navigate. Are business owners finding these programs easy to use, and how long before they receive funding?
Right. No, they're not finding it easy to use. I think it seems like a black box. I think a lot of banks are overwhelmed with the amount of need. Right, if we walk out our house, our front doors, and just walk a half mile down, you run into a whole bunch of small businesses just right downtown Fenton. And just think every single one of those has to apply. And then if you keep going up the street or turn left and think about how many other businesses you're gonna walk by, and then just apply that on a national scale. A lot of demand for this program. I heard it described as this is a backcountry 2-lane a little dirt road that was set up, but it needs to be a 27-lane highway. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think businesses are finding it frustrating. I think banks are finding it frustrating with the federal government too. So everyone's frustrated. Everybody is finding it difficult to navigate. In theory, it makes sense that if you're a small business, you just work with the banker you would normally work with. But that banker needs information. That bank has to have a policy, and so beyond that, I think that's what's driving some frustration right now and confusion. I do believe the money will be there. I think Congress and the president have committed to saying we're going to fund this program as best we can, and continue to fund it as needed. But the problem is getting the money out in time. So you got these small businesses that are now going on here in Michigan, what, 4 weeks of, we've been on lockdown basically, and they've got to feed their families, they got to pay their mortgages, and it doesn't matter how much is in the pot, they want it, they need it now. So I
Right.
think that's the real problem. And then your question about when are they going to have the money? I've talked to a couple bankers today, and I think that it's slowly going to happen. Maybe the next week, we'll see more and more companies getting loans from this PPP program.
Do you think that these programs, once the funding starts to flow in, are enough to keep these businesses afloat through this proverbial storm?
Yeah, I think in theory they are. We'll see if they are or not. I mean, that's unfortunate. But there is another program called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is set up for the SBA. And you think about it, like in Flint after the water crisis, or in Florida after a hurricane, the SBA comes in and provides loans to a very specific region, to businesses, provides cheap loans so they can continue to operate during the disaster or whatever it is. But in this case, it was a disaster that hit the whole country at the same time. And that program is overwhelmed. If Congress could step that program up, refund it, because the PPP program is really designed for paychecks and payroll, right? Keeping people on payroll, paying yourself, paying your employees, keeping people off unemployment. But if the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, had more funding, you could get a loan for working capital. So if you're like a little restaurant that needs inventory, when we do go back, you got to buy all this inventory. It'd be nice to have a low cost option to get a loan for that inventory, even though you've been paying, yourself and your cook and your waitress during this time. You still got to go buy all that food to get going.
Yeah, it's something I hadn't considered with restaurants having to replenish all of their inventory. Food
Right.
doesn't stay good forever, so they're
Not
going to
for
be
four
starting from
weeks.
scratch.
Right. Yeah, they're going to be starting from scratch. So we need to keep people on payroll. That's the goal of the Paycheck Protection Program. We need to be able to have businesses continue to pay their mortgages and leases, and keep the lights on. But then they're going to need more working capital loans. And I think we keep hearing about this fourth program, or this fourth legislative effort they're going to consider in Washington. And I hope that has not only more support for the paycheck program, but also for working capital in general.
Right. Now, prior to COVID-19, how were Flint and Genesee trending in terms of job and economic growth? It seemed like things were going well. The economy was strong.
Yeah. Um, Flint, Genesee County had been growing. Number of jobs were being added year over year. We were growing. Our GDP was about 1% in growth rate in 2019, which was below the national average of about 2%. So we were growing, not as fast. Even though we were growing, we were still falling behind. Not as fast as the rest of the nation, but it was growth, and it was good. We continued to see things picking up. The big problem in Genesee County right now is net migration and population, right? So Michigan is an old state, and Genesee County is an old county, old meaning population age. It's an
Right.
older, average older county in the state that is an old state. So the idea of adding jobs doesn't necessarily fix the economy. We need more people to take those jobs, and we need people to stay here. We need people to grow here and make their lives in Genesee County. And that's how we're going to kind of break the cycle and catch up with the rest of the nation.
Oh, yeah, very good. So, do you think we'll see a shift to domestic production, and are we well positioned to take some of that?
Yeah, I know you work on this kind of stuff, Brad, in your day job, but where I believe what I believe is going to happen is the risk analysis of OEMs is going to consider not just the price of supplies or suppliers, but also the strength of their supply chain. So when COVID-19 was really breaking out in China, General Motors felt it immediately because some of their suppliers were in China and they were stopping production. That was affecting the plant in Flint, the Flint assembly plant. And now it's kind of spread around the country where the assembly plant in Flint is shut down and China's picking up. So I think what you're going to see is more robust networking of the supply chains, not only in the automotive industry, but just every industry. So I don't know that they'll be necessarily reshoring, but I think they'll think, should that plant be that big in Vietnam, or should we have like 3 plants kind of in all different parts of the country? That's
Right.
my hunch at this point. I don't know if we'll see if that is going to come to fruition.
Well, it's a smart approach because you're distributing your supply chain. So if you have a natural disaster or
Right.
an illness like we have right now, a virus going around, you can still maintain some piece of normalcy. So
Yeah.
to have a distributed supply chain like that or a supply chain network, I think is good. Yeah, I
And
was
I think
hopeful. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the United States has a robust public health infrastructure compared to the rest of the nation. So I think that is a strength that people will consider more than just like hurricanes, earthquakes kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. And when you think about a supply chain, if there was a shift to domestic production, and salaries started to increase here, at least on the automotive side of the business, more people have money to purchase new cars and to service their cars. And it goes back to Henry Ford making sure that people could make a wage that they could afford to buy his vehicles. That's how you get value.
That's right. And that's exactly right. So, and one thing that just to go back to like the theory that we have about economic development, about talent, business talent in place, interconnected, we really see like that benefit here in Fenton. We know that Fenton is a great place to live. It's a great place to raise your family. You've done that. I'm doing that. We got to not only think about that the what you just described about the kind of the more the dollar gets turned in a country, but also in our community. And what's going to make us great in our communities if we have a strong network of communities that are great places to live, work, and play. Because if we don't, we're going to keep losing people to Atlanta and New York and Chicago, which apparently is the black hole for the Midwest, and
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
even more locally like Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor. And so yeah, we need that dollar to circulate more, and we need to invest in our communities so that they're great places to be. And I think Fenton's an example of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've kind of become a little bit of a dining mecca, and the one
Yeah.
one of the concerns that I have with all of this, is right now we can't dine out. It's one of the first things that was, essentially taken away from us. Will people get back to dining out as frequently as they did? Because we have all of these great restaurants, and we draw people from other cities to come and dine here. So they're spending their money here, and we need that. We want that. So we want to make sure that those restaurants get back up to business and up to speed as quickly as possible. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, you're also a commercial property owner in town. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
got a little
uh,
side gig too.
hey, we all have to have something going, right?
Yeah.
So how are you working with your tenant or your tenants to aid in your collective success, right? They're having a hardship, and that could cause some hardship for you. How are you guys working together?
Yeah. Well, I think I've got the greatest tenant in the world, and it's Bridge Street Exchange. I think they're just a great place in the community. I think they add a lot. So my goal is to make sure that Kevin, the owner of that place, is successful, and we're going to share the pain with him. So we've been doing that already. Immediately once we started working from home and all the shutdown went, I worked with him right away, even at the end of March. We'll continue to stay in contact and be be sure to share the pain. And my goal for that business is that we obviously want to make a little money off it, but is that there's another great place in Fenton. And so our goal is to make money, but also have a great place for the community. And I think Kevin's doing a great job with that.
Yeah, no, he has a great business, and I frequent there often and try to buy as many shirts and items as I can in there.
Socks.
And
He's got great socks. That's what I love.
yeah, well, you raise an interesting point. Being the owner of the building, that's a long-term investment, right?
Yeah.
Where his business is more short-term and or more transactional in nature. So it probably makes it easier for you to help in that, to ensure his long-term
Yeah.
success, because it helps your long-term success.
And yeah, and also, we bank with State Bank, and so they're working with us, we're working with the tenant, we're all in this together. It's a shared community effort to make sure our small businesses are supported.
And that's what it takes. So last question for you, Tyler. Once we get the all clear, what do you look forward to doing?
Our spring break got canceled, Brad, so we have tentatively booked our trip for the late July or first week of August, basically. And so I'm hoping that by that time we can travel and we can go on our spring break trip, in
Yeah,
August.
I hope so as well. And hopefully by then we'll definitely have the all clear, and you'll have a great time with your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tyler, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on Fenton Live. Your
Oh,
insights were
fun.
helpful, and we're going to talk to some business owners here over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully the knowledge you shared regarding the programs and accessibility of those programs will be helpful to them. So thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brad. It's fun to do this. Even though we're neighbors, it's fun to do it virtually, I guess.